I'm here today to talk about automating all the things, across your entire DevOps pipeline, automating and integrating with the tools that you might already be using. So towards the end of the talk, I'll be going into a demo where I get to show you a pipeline that is calling into a variety of free tools and what you can do with your pipeline. So to start, what does your software delivery pipeline look like? We'll be taking a look at some typical what a pipeline might look like, but how about you? Do you have a pipeline in place? Are you, a straight shot where someone checks in code and then you're in production and thumbs up, smiling emoji? That's great if you are. I'm sure you're here like totally strutting your stuff, but most people live more close to here, where it's not an easy process. There's complexity involved in all of the steps you have to take to get your code from check-in through your testing, through your different environments, and all the way to production. And there might be legacy processes that you have to use. You might have manual intervention that is required. And you have a lot of tools that you're already using that you want to bring in and integrate with kind of seamlessly. The goal is to make as much of this automated as possible. That's what we definitely try to work with folks to do, is bring in as much automation as possible, take out the inefficiencies where you might have to, currently have a run book where someone has to go in and type commands or, kick off specific automated tests, but rather link it all together in kind of a seamless pipeline. But we understand that this is where a lot of people are, and we're kind of, overwhelmed and exhausted, like that poor guy. So, having these kinds of manual processes or different complexities, the main thing that they do is slow down your cycle time. They bring in inefficiencies. So what we want to do is reduce that. So the challenge, oh shoot, is magnified. Hopefully this pops up when you have, your team that's using multiple tools across a team. So my image here is supposed to be, just someone's laptop with all of the stickers of all of the tools they use. And when you have a individual single team, it can, you can do it. You can hook everything together. You can call into the different tools. And many small teams are able to do this, where they can automate everything they're doing in their pipeline. But what happens when you take a broader view, you step back, I'm going through my slides, but you can't really see them. We're adding another team to the picture here, where there are more tools. Oh, there we go. There are more tools getting introduced. So it's not as easy, where you have more complexity, more points of integration. And then this can go further, where you're just going on throughout your organization with people choosing what they want, what they think works to solve their problems. And all of these people, all of the developers are focused on delivering the best software. They are all working towards the same goals, but they might have their own perspective, their own preferences and what they want to use. And it's not easy to come in and kind of mandate that, no, everyone across the organization has to use this tool set, because you might know people get, feel very comfortable and happy with what they're doing. They've invested time in it, and so they don't want to change. If you look at the market in general, there are so many, we're not really seeing this, but tools available to solve each set of problems. And most companies will have, at least two of each type, where, to solve the same problem, you might have two different configuration management tools that you're using, or CI engine, or SCM repositories. And I'm sure a lot of you understand how that might happen across your organization, where people come in new and want to say, no, I'm using Git, I don't want to use Subversion, or, and start changing things. So, how do you take all of that and then bring it into your end-to-end delivery pipeline? This is hard without the visuals. So oh, here we are. I'm talking about, what a typical software delivery pipeline might look like. Um, Here you can see a commit pipeline where someone is checking in their code, and then you get into the build stage, you are building, you might be using Jenkins for CI, you might be using some SCM tools, so there are different places where you have to interact. You want to publish your artifact at the end of the stage, you might be using some Maven-based repository, something you've built yourself, depending on the type of artifact you're generating. And then there's the place where you might have an approval. This might be an automated approval, which is, even better, where even your approvals are automated based on the results of your testing, looking at thresholds, and pushing into the next stage. And if you have that confidence in your automation, in the testing that you've put in place, that's really great if you can do that. As you get further down the pipeline, of course, you will want to have those manual interventions as well before you actually push into production. So we'll continue to build this out. There are more steps. You might be using different cloud providers to provision your environments and then configure them, deploy your software, test it out, and then have more approvals. The commit pipeline feeds into your release pipeline, where you continue to have similar steps where you are provisioning, configuring, deploying, maybe multiple applications that need to be coordinated together in a release, and then run your tests and continue down until you get to production, where you might have a more complex approval here, where you're taking your test results and saying, okay, if 100% of my tests passed, I feel confident I can push automatically. If it's anything less, I need someone to come in and look at this. If it's less than 75% or 95%, whatever your threshold is, then just reject this. This is not going anywhere further. So, you can also then have the multiple commit pipelines coming into your release, where maybe you have you have many times that you commit, and only one of those actually goes into your release. You might have multiple teams working on multiple components that then build out. They're each deploying their one component, and then you come into your release where you're coordinating the release of all of these applications or components in your release pipeline. And across this entire pipeline, some folks we work with might use a handful of tools, but more realistically, there might be up to 60 plus or more tools that you're using across this. So how do you coordinate the use of those and the management of those, and kind of orchestrate centrally, so you have that one place where you're coming in? You don't have to be logging into each of these systems and running tests or running scripts from your command line, but rather have one centralized place where you're able to see the status of every step, look into the details of everything that you've run, wherever it may be. So it leads to the question, how many tools does your team use? I'm sure it varies. It would be interesting to hear if but the main thing that we want to say is that rather than replacing these tools, orchestrate them. And as I said, it can be challenging to have that sprawl, and it's difficult to standardize across an organization. I've worked with some large enterprises where they had that sprawl of tools. They had so many teams who were using different things for different pieces, and from the top level there was this desire to standardize, and it was pushed kind of down the throats of people, but in the end it didn't really, pieces of it worked, but it's hard. It's really hard to try to get everyone on board when they've committed and put time into integrating with something, and everyone has their kind of babies that they want to work with. So as part of this, you want to orchestrate instead, have a pipeline that takes into account all of the different tools you might be using. And so that leads to easy migration, easy onboarding of new teams into your pipeline without asking them to reinvent the wheel. And we actually did just that at one of a very large customer. We worked with them last year, where they were in the process of onboarding thousands of applications onto our product Electric Flow. And they had that sprawl of tools where not everyone, with so many applications, of course, they have many different things that they're using. Not everyone, there were Windows environments, there were Linux environments, there were different app servers, there were different testing frameworks that they were using. And what we were able to design for them was a generic and data-driven parameterized pipeline where the base pipeline model was the same, but then the calls out to the different integrations were different based on the definition of their application and what their requirements were. And when you're looking at the scale we were looking at, where it's thousands, you don't want to write that different pipeline for each one. Instead, we were able to take advantage of our domain-specific language, where you can represent your pipeline as code and automate even the automation, where you're automating the onboarding of those applications and the generation of the pipeline that is specific to that application, but with the same base layer where you're able to reuse a lot of the components. Don't reinvent everything, but have as much reusability as you can in your automation. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about, Electric Flow, our DevOps release automation platform. We, you can orchestrate your end-to-end pipelines. We have this base platform that we've had around for many years now, which is a very flexible, robust platform for any automation that you might want to do, where we have, provide you shared models and practices. It's a centralized place for visibility to see what the status is of all of your processes, and it's enterprise grade. I'm talking about some of the scale. We've been worked with very large enterprises, so we have that scalability, the high availability that people need to, depend on the platform that is orchestrating all of their processes. So on top of this, we have different kind of solutions based on what you might be doing. Build test is where we started, where we have a CI engine. We've grown that a lot in the past few years to add a deploy solution where you can model your applications, model your environments, and do your deployments to those environments. We have releases to model your pipelines, coordinate multiple applications being released, and then really we can automate any use case. As I said, it's a very flexible, robust platform, so you can really bring any automation in and have it run against your machines. And then you can see this is just a handful of the integrations we have, but really, what makes it powerful is you can orchestrate and integrate with the tools that you're already using. So I think I just have 10 more minutes, so I'm going to go through these slides a little quickly. We're boosting your security, velocity, transparency to orchestrate your stack. Oop. Where are we moving? Oh, I guess it wasn't updating fast enough. So the reveal was fast, but this is just some of the benefits that some of our customers have seen from doing automation. You can see that time is very important to most of them, but it comes from faster time to develop and cycle time, but also faster auditability. It depends on what is important to this company. For Lockheed Martin, it was about being able to have that centralized visibility to dig in and quickly audit and find the information needed, go back into your history. Also, better quality, where you go from 10 errors to 0 errors. So I'm going to jump into my demo. In this demo, I have an example pipeline where I am going to make a change to a very simple application and run it through the pipeline and show you how I might integrate with some tools. So we're going to start with making a change to the code, doing a commit, This will trigger my CI. I'll do a checkout from my Git repository. I'm using Jenkins for continuous integration here, so I'm going to, or for running my build, so I'll run my job in Jenkins to do my build. Then on success, the application is packaged as a Docker image, so I'll publish to the Docker repository, deploy to my QA environment, run some Selenium tests, look at the results of those tests, and based on that, push into production. And then you'll see that we have that happy, smiling, thumbs up guy. So this is my application that I have running. And all I'm going to do is say, I don't like this color. It's a quick fix. I'm going to change the background color. So I am going to, let me see, make a quick change here. And I've written down what I want to put here. And then I will commit this into Git and say add my message. And then I'll come into the Electric Flow platform and in our CI dashboard here. It takes a little while for this to pick up. We don't have much time, so I'm going to run this manually, but this would pick up the change and kick off my CI process. So if I run, you can see all of your previous runs. This is our dashboard. This is where we're running now. It kicks off my pipeline. So now we're in that pipeline view where we have the different stages, build, QA, and production. I come into my build stage and I can see that I already have things running. The build is running. I can go into the details and look a little deeper at what was actually run. I used my Git plugin to check out the code. I'm executing Jenkins. I can look even further at the log files if there's an error to see exactly what was run. Back at the pipeline level, I'm gathering all of the information in one place for anyone who comes in. They can come and look at my change log from Git right here. They can also look at the Jenkins job that was run. Oops, if I'm logged in. And see the run that I just ran in Jenkins. So with my build stage complete, I have a manual gate here. This could, of course, be automated, as I mentioned, where it's based on conditions, based on data that's gathered. But I'll come in and approve my gate. This can be assigned to a person or a team who will get a notification that, okay, my pipeline is ready for you to take a look and push it on to the next stage. And so that person would have, with access controls, be the only person or team that can come in and do this. So I'm admin, so this is kind of cheating. So I'm not going to log out and log in as Raj. But add a comment for auditability to come back and see what that person was thinking. Why did they do this? And we go on to QA. So now my QA stage is running. I ran a deployment where I took my app model that is defined in Electric Flow, deployed it to my environment, and then run a set of Selenium tests on that deployment. So I'm waiting for the tests to run, and then my Selenium test reports are also right here. So anyone who comes in has that accessibility to everything that has been done from this one centralized place. So I can look at my Selenium test results. I can, where am I? Too many windows. I can also look at a screenshot that was taken to see was the background color updated. So I can say, okay, it's blue, this is what I wanted. It doesn't show the clock, but it gives me enough confidence based on my test results to move on and approve to go into production. So I have another gate here where I do another approval. It doesn't have to be just one gate. If you have multiple levels of approvals that need to be done when you're exiting and entering your next stage, we have that definitely support as much complexity you need in those gates as you want. You can have procedures that call into other tools as well. So I'll approve this. and go into production. And in production, I'm just running my deployment. You can add as many tasks as required. So we'll wait for this to complete. I'll come back to my dashboard or my application here, and we should see that we updated the color. So it's simple enough, but my change went through my pipeline, and I was able to validate it and then see the changes in production. I know I'm short on time, but are there any questions at this point? I wanted to walk a little bit through the pipeline itself and show you the model. Yes?
Are there in the notifications for the mod release date,
can
you configure those notifications to include artifacts that you can send to a cat board or a change library board?
Yeah, definitely. You can customize the notifications. You can have links to the artifacts or pull out data from a job that was run and include it right in the notification. So there's the notifications are very flexible, and you can parameterize or pull in data from the pipeline or jobs themselves and put them in, so people can review it right there. Yeah.
How does auditability work? So once the stuff is done, how do you go back and look at it? Is there reporting mechanisms?
Yeah. So you can go back and look at the pipeline run itself, which I showed you. We also have, I was trying to have this dashboard up to show you. We also have, but this environment is not working. We have, I don't have the dashboard available here, but we have a dashboard which is pretty new. It was just released last week, where we give a lot more visibility into your deployments themselves, your releases themselves, so you get some more understanding of where things are. But for the auditability piece, when you go into the run, that screen I was showing you, you can go back into each place, see you have everything gathered in that one place, and you can look at exactly who did the approvals once they're complete, look at those notes that were added. Everything is right there and available. So, and you can go back into history and see all of the previous runs, so you can see if there were changes. Yes?
How do you integrate some cloud service that with its own embedded DevOps like NetSuite?
I'm sorry?
How do you integrate with the DevOps of some cloud services with its built-in DevOps like NetSuite? They don't use Jenkins, they don't use the third-party tools. They have its own built-in DevOps. How do you integrate with that?
Deployment pipeline?
Yeah.
Like to integrate with another tool that does deployment pipelines?
The cloud service with its own built-in DevOps. Okay.
So yeah, so we have integrations like from Jenkins for CI. We have a different integration style where your CI will run in Jenkins. You don't run it here, and at the end of your Jenkins job, you then kick off a pipeline to do the rest of your release. Kick off the release pipeline. We integrate with cloud providers for sure. Your environments can be dynamic. For microservices, we have great support for modeling your microservices and then deploying them to whatever container platform you might be using, whether it's Google Container Engine, Amazon, Azure. So you can take advantage of what they provide in terms of deployment, auto-scaling for your containers, but still have this central place where you're orchestrating all of it, and then you can orchestrate both your monolithic legacy applications, hybrid, and microservices based. I hope that answers your question. Otherwise, I can follow up with you after.
There's more discussion to take after the session, so thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you.